My parents called me their bad luck. When I left, I took all my luck with me. I grew up being told I was the reason everything went wrong in my family. My parents had my older brother first, and he was perfect. Good grades, good behavior, good at sports. Then they had me 3 years later, and according to them, that's when their luck ran out. My dad lost his job 6 months after I was born. My mom got into a car accident when I was 2. My grandmother died when I was 4. The family dog ran away when I was 5. Every bad thing that happened got pinned on me like I had some kind of curse attached to my existence. My mom started saying it as a joke at first. She'd laugh and call me her little storm cloud. Then it stopped being a joke. By the time I was 10, my parents openly blamed me for their problems. If the bill was higher than expected, it was because I was in the house using too much electricity. If something broke, it was because my bad energy made things fall apart. If my dad didn't get a promotion, it was because he had the burden of raising an unlucky child. My brother picked up on it and started calling me Jinx. The name stuck all through middle school and high school. I believed them for a long time. I thought maybe I really was cursed. I apologized constantly for things that weren't my fault. I tried to make myself small and invisible so my bad luck wouldn't spread. I got good grades hoping that would prove I wasn't a burden. I got a job at 16 and paid for my own clothes and school supplies so they couldn't say I was draining their money. Nothing I did changed how they saw me. When I was 17, my brother got accepted to a good college. My parents threw him a huge party and invited all their friends. They bragged about how he was going to be successful and make them proud. When I got accepted to the same college a year later with a better scholarship, my mom said it probably wouldn't last because things always fell apart for me. My dad said I should go to community college instead and save them the embarrassment when I inevitably failed. I went anyway. I left home at 18 with 2 suitcases and a bank account I'd been secretly filling for years. My parents didn't help me move. My brother didn't say goodbye. My mom told me to call when I needed to come home because she knew I would. I didn't call. College was hard, but not because of bad luck. It was hard because I had to unlearn everything my parents taught me about myself. I made friends for the first time. Real friends who didn't treat me like a curse. I joined clubs and studied things I actually cared about. I failed a test once, and my roommate said it was okay and we'd study harder next time. She didn't blame me for ruining anything. She just helped me do better. I graduated with honors. I got a job at an architecture firm in a city 4 hours from my hometown. I worked my way up for 5 years and became a project manager. I bought a small condo with my own money. I adopted a cat who didn't run away. I dated someone who actually liked being around me. Everything my parents said would fall apart stayed together because I built it myself without their voices in my head. Meanwhile, things got worse at home. My dad's drinking caught up with him and he lost another job. My mom's health declined because she refused to see doctors until problems became emergencies. My brother dropped out of college after 2 years and moved back home. He couldn't hold down a job and spent most of his time playing video games in his childhood bedroom. The golden child turned out to be fool's gold. They never connected the dots. They kept waiting for me to fail. My mom would call once a year on my birthday and ask how I was holding up. She said it like she expected me to be struggling. When I told her I got promoted, she said I shouldn't get too comfortable because good things don't last for people like me. When I told her I bought my condo, she asked how much debt I was in. When I told her I was happy, she laughed and said, "Give it time." I stopped telling her things. I stopped calling back. 3 years ago, my brother needed surgery and my parents couldn't afford it. My dad called me for the first time in years. He didn't ask how I was doing. He just said they needed money, and since I apparently had so much of it now, I should share with the family who raised me. I stare at my phone for 20 minutes after hanging up, my hands still shaking from hearing my father's voice demand money like I owe them something. The number 15,000 keeps repeating in my head like a broken record. 3 years of silence, and this is what breaks it. Not an apology or even a hello, just a dollar amount and the expectation that I'll pay it. My chest feels tight in a way I haven't experienced since I left home. That same crushing feeling of being blamed for existing. I set the phone down on the coffee table and watch it like it might ring again, like he might call back to say something worse. The living room gets darker as the sun sets, and I don't bother turning on the lights. My cat jumps onto the couch next to me, and I scratch behind her ears automatically, focusing on the soft fur instead of the anger building in my throat. Cillian comes home from work around 6:30 and finds me sitting in the same spot, still holding my phone even though I'd put it down earlier. I must have picked it back up without realizing. He drops his bag by the door, and I watch his face change as he takes in the dark room and my expression. I tell him about the call, and the words come out flat and mechanical, like I'm reading a grocery list instead of explaining how my father just demanded money after years of treating me like I was cursed. Cillian sits down next to me, and his jaw tightens in that way it does when he's angry but trying not to show it. He asks what my dad said exactly, and I repeat the conversation word for word because it's burned into my memory already. His face shifts from concern to something harder, protective, and somehow that makes me feel less crazy for being this upset. He asks if I'm okay, and the question makes me pause because I don't actually know the answer. Part of me wants to scream, part of me feels guilty for even being angry, and another part just feels sad and tired. I tell him I'm not sure, and he nods like that makes perfect sense. We sit in silence for a few minutes, and I try to sort through what I'm feeling. The anger makes sense. They called after 3 years just to ask for money. But the guilt confuses me. This nagging voice saying maybe I should help because he's family. Maybe refusing makes me just as bad as them. Then there's the sadness underneath it all. This heavy realization that this is what our relationship has become. That they only reach out when they need something from me. I grab my phone and pull up my therapist's contact information. My hands shake a little as I dial, and I get Milena's voicemail because it's after office hours. I leave a message asking if she has any emergency slots this week, because I can feel old patterns trying to crawl back into my brain. The voice in my head sounds exactly like my mother, telling me I'm being selfish, that family helps family, that good daughters don't abandon their brothers when they need surgery. I hate that voice, and I hate that it still has power over me after all these years. I hang up and tell Cillian I called my therapist, and he squeezes my hand, says that's a good idea. That night, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling while Cillian sleeps next to me. My brain won't shut off, just keeps cycling through memories I thought I'd dealt with already. I remember being 6 years old and my dad losing another job, how my mom said it was because having me around made him stressed and distracted. I was 6 months old when he lost the first job, and somehow that was my fault too. I remember the car accident when I was 2, how my mom told the story for years about how she was distracted thinking about me in the back seat and didn't see the other car. I remember my grandmother dying of cancer when I was 4, and my parents talking about bad luck following our family, looking at me when they said it like I'd personally given her the disease. The memories keep coming, each one a little cut that never quite healed, and I realize I'm crying without making any sound. Milena's office calls back the next morning while I'm getting ready for work. Her receptionist says she had a cancellation at 2 in the afternoon if I can make it. I call in sick to work, something I never do, and spend the morning pacing around my condo trying to distract myself. I clean the kitchen that's already clean. I organize my bookshelf by color, then by author, then back to color. I start 3 different shows on streaming and can't focus on any of them. When it's finally time to leave, I get to her office 15 minutes early and sit in my car rehearsing what I want to say. I walk into her office feeling like I've gone backwards in time, like I'm the anxious 23-year-old who first started therapy instead of the 28-year-old who thought she had her life together. Milena gestures to the familiar chair and I sit down, already feeling tears building up. She asks what happened and I tell her about the call, about my father's voice after 3 years, about the money demand, about all of it. The words pour out for 15 minutes straight and she just listens, occasionally nodding, letting me get it all out. When I finally stop talking, she waits a moment, then asks what I actually want to do. Not what I think I should do or what would make me a good person, but what I genuinely want. I admit I've already looked up Curtis's condition online, spent an hour last night reading medical websites about the surgery he needs. It's real and it's necessary, and without it, he could have serious complications. But I also know my parents have let him live at home rent-free for years, playing video games in his childhood bedroom while they paid for everything. They never made him get a job with insurance, never pushed him to be independent like they pushed me out the door at 18. I paid for my own clothes and school supplies at 16 while he's 31, and they still do his laundry. Milena asks why Curtis doesn't have insurance, and the question makes me stop and think.